Good evening, Daf Ayin Hamud Aleph. We're continuing in the concept of Modeh B'Knas Patur. If you agreed to something that would otherwise make you Hayav with Knas, fine. If I didn't testify, but if you admit to it first, you're Patur. Marav Hamnuna. Regarding what Rav said, according to what Rav said earlier, but the guy said, I stole it. And then witnesses came and testified that he stole it. Rav would hold the Patur even though the witnesses came afterward. Because in that case, when he said he stole something, true, he made himself patur from kefil, the double payment, but he's still chayav to the original principal payment. But if he said I didn't steal and witnesses testify he stole. Then he said, I stole it and I stole it, trying to get out of the 4 or 5. And then witnesses testify that he stole it or stole. He's chayav. Because he made himself patur from paying anything. Meaning, he was already chayav to pay the kefil because the witnesses testified. He already had to pay the keren because the witnesses testified. However, when he came to say I slaughtered also, he was trying to get himself out from paying extra. But he wasn't being mahayev himself anything. He was trying to get out of a bonus payment. He was already chayav the principal. That's why it doesn't work. Rav says, I asked a question against the Chachamim of Rav. In the case of Tebi, the slave from yesterday, the Daf, he said, I blinded him, and therefore he's going free. And he was making himself patur without being chayav anything else. And he didn't say anything, which means that you're able to make yourself patur from a knas without having to be chayav in anything. That's not a prerequisite. Additionally, it said, if someone came in front of Badin, then he said, I stole. And witnesses later testified that he did steal. Patur. Made himself chayav with the principle. But if he said, I didn't steal, then they testified that he stole. Therefore, he's still chayav for the principle. Then he said, I slaughtered or I sold it. And then they testified that that's what happened. Chayav is chayav. Because when he made himself patur, he tried to make some patur. When he admitted to the slaughtering, he's trying to make himself completely patur without making himself chayav, right? So it has to be like a package deal. You're trying to get yourself patur from further fines while making yourself chayav for something like the principle. Amar Hashem, we have proof from our Mishnah and Braita as well. Our Mishnah proves it how the Tanakh Mishnah says. Someone stole from within front of 2 witnesses. But the he slaughtered it or sold it in front of a single witness. Or in front, or he admits it himself. Mishnah pays only 2, but does not pay 4 or 5. Why don't you teach you that the case where he stole in front of Edim? Let it just say that he stole or slaughtered it on a single witness and or on his own admission, and only pay the principal. That would still work. Why does it teach you that it was stealing with 2 witnesses as well? To teach you, Amud Bet, specifically that case where he stole with 2, slaughtered it on 1 or himself. He makes himself only chayav the keren. And that which he's saying that he slaughtered it by himself is like a single witness. Just like a single witness. Just like when a single witness joins him, he'll be chayav. Just like himself, if the other edim come and then make him testify that he slaughtered it, but if he stole and slaughtered it, all by 1 witness or himself, the chayav wants to make some chayav the keren. We don't say it's comparable. His own confession is the same as a single witness. That would not be comparable to a single witness, because if he were to say, I stole and I slaughtered it, that would make him patur from everything, even afterward. Right? So therefore, the Mishnah shows you that it has to be in a scenario where he's making himself patur from additional fines, because we know he's already chayav the keren, and he's patur himself from the kefil, and therefore it has to be that case, and he would be chayav if Edim came to testify afterward on the slaughtering. That was the proof from our Mishnah. Now, what's the proof of the Braita? What's the case? The Braita says, in this case before. The guys who stole saw witnesses coming to testify against him. He said, I stole, but I didn't slaughter it. In the Mishnah, he only pays the keren, but not additional fines. Why does the need Braita then to tell you that he stole it, but he said he didn't slaughter it? Nitni oganafti otabachti umacharti. Maybe he should say, I stole, slaughtered, or sold it. The reason why he's patur from the efek shekanas is when, even when the witnesses come afterward, is because he made himself chayav in the keren. But if he said I didn't steal and he testified that he stole, then he said I slaughtered, and they testified that he did slaughter, that he didn't slaughter, and they testified that he did slaughter. Sorry, then he said I slaughtered it, and then witnesses testified on it. The law chayav b'sol keren. He didn't make himself chayav with anything. Chayav be chayav on the 4 or 5. Therefore, the admission to the slaughter or selling is not a good admission because you're not chayav yourself with anything. Therefore, you're not making yourself completely patur. Amri, the Gemara says, not a good proof. Not a good chidush from the Breita. He goof k'mashman. The chidush of the Breita is as follows. The kevin damar ganafti. Once the guy said, I stole it. Afagav damar lo tabachti v'lo macharti. Even though he said, I didn't slaughter or sell it. Then witnesses came and said that he did slaughter or sell it. Patur. He's still patur from 4 or 5. Why? My tama. Tashlume arba'a v'chamisha machmana. The Torah says chayav 4 or 5. V'lo tashlume arba'a v'lo tashlume hashasha. But it never will be chayav in a case of 4 or 3. Meaning only cases of 4 or 5, which means that what? You'd have a case where chayav kefil, and then he gets caught on the slaughtering, and that would add 2 or 3, depending on the sheep or ox, which make it 4 or 5. In this scenario, it wouldn't make sense, because what would the case be? He's admitted, which made him patur from kefil, which means he's only chayav the principal, which is 1. And then you're adding plus 2 or 3 for the slaughtering, which would mean it'll be 3 or 4 instead of 4 or 5. And that's why I never said you have 3 or 4, only be 4 or 5. How you shnayim ma'idin shekanaf? There are 2 witnesses saying that he stole. The other 2 witnesses saying that he slaughtered it. And the witnesses of the stealing became zomamin. We had this before as well. Once partial of the edim became fell apart, the rest of it also fell apart. Because the stealing fell apart. The witnesses of the slaughter became zomim. They paid double. And the zomim paid 3. Sumchus explains that the zomim paid 2. He will pay 3 for the ox or 2 for a ram. I comes to us. What is Sumchus referring to? Eliyahu is referring to the first case where the witnesses to the theft were zomim, but not witnesses to the slaughter. Of course, you would hold that if the partial is pasul, the rest is pasul. So that can't be the case. But last if maybe Simchus is referring to the chiyuv of the 3 and 4 and the guy Shapir Ka'amir Rabbanan who sometimes the kevel him shamim. That also can't be because the Chachamim in the Mishnah that Brata said that the defendant will pay 2 and the zomim paid additional because they were zomemd on the slaughtering. Rather, there's something missing and you have to add it. Which therefore was the case, like similar to like a Hesura Mechsera, we have to reword it. Amar lehu en ganafti v'tavachti macharti. The case is where he said, Amar le ganafta. The witnesses said you stole. Amar lehu en ganafti v'tavachti macharti. Not only did I steal, I agree, but I slaughtered it or sold it. Mihu, however, lo b'vnechem ganafti. I didn't steal it in front of him. Interesting. What a twist. And then witnesses came from the thief. The thief brought witnesses and testified he didn't steal in front of them. And the witnesses, the owner of the animal brought witnesses. They testified that he did slaughter and steal it. Right? In that case, the Zomem witnesses would have to pay the thief the kefel, which he obviously paid the owner with, but he doesn't pay the 4 or 5. That's in the case where Simchus said that you pay the kefil, but not the 3. The 3 or 5. The machloket, whether or not is that hoda'ah makes him chayav in 4 or 5. And in Simchus would hold that you do pay the extra, and Chachamim hold you don't. Well, that therefore what's machloket? Even though the Chachamim hold that admitting to the theft does not make him patur from the kefel because the witness has already testified on it. However, when he's slaughtering it, when he's admitting to the slaughter, that's a good hoda'ah, and therefore he's patur, even though he's not making himself chayav, like that opinion. Since he's admitting to the theft, it does not make him patur from the kefel. since it was already made chayav and witnesses. Therefore, when he admits to the slaughter as well, since he's not making himself chayav anything, he's already chayav from the first witnesses. He's still chayav. The first witnesses testified that he was supposed to be a chayav and it became zomem. They'll pay the kefil. And he pays 3 or 4 because his hoda'ah doesn't do anything. Says 1 second. No. That's not the mahalket. Everybody would agree that admission to the slaughter doesn't do anything. Of course, the chayav. What will be the mahalket? Referring to whether or not you hold that does testimony have to be zomemable, right? Mishnah Makot says if can edim become zomem on certain things that's unzomemable, right? They use kasher zamam. The Torah says you have to do to the edim what they wanted to do to him. Now, what if they're testifying on something that they can't do to the edim if they get zomem? I think the Mishnah Makot says. Let's say they said, this guy is a pasul kohen. This guy's Israeli. The edim is Israeli. Can you make them pasul kohanim? No. So what will be the kasher zamam if they get zomem? So the question is that type of edut kosher edut or not? So they were saying that if it's unzomemable, it's not good edut. That's the machlokes. So the cases where witnesses came and said that the guy you stole. I stole it and I slaughtered it or I sold it. Mihu, but it's still in front of you, but I stole it in front of Reuven and Shimon. And then the thief brought other witnesses who said that the first witnesses were Zomemim, and the second ones testified that it wasn't in front of them, meaning that they weren't there. And then this is tzaddik of a thief. And then Reuben and Shimon, who witnessed it, said, yes, he did steal it and he did slaughter in front of me. The Chokr is as following. Hamim hold that since the Zomemim pay the thief too, and the thief pays only the principal, and pays patur from anything else, that's unzomemable payments. Unzomemable edut, testimony. Because even if the other guys would come testify that the second guys were the second witnesses who said that he stole and slaughtered, it wouldn't be good, because the whole reason why the first edim fell apart is because the thief admitted to it and said, I did it, but you weren't there. The second set of witnesses testified on that, and if they were to get zomemd, it wouldn't work because his hoda'ah, his admission, only worked because it was based on the second set of edim. So therefore, if the second set of edim were to be zomemd, that's unzomemable because his admission was part of that process. And therefore, since you can't knock them with that zomem, therefore the whole edut shouldn't work. The whole edut and any type of edut that does not have zomem option is not good edut. But not my problem. Edut that is not able to be zomem is still good edut, no problem. Gemara says 1 second. The problem is we are posek. Everybody agrees. There's no machlokes in this concept that you're not allowed to. You have to have, everybody agrees that you have to have zomemable edut in order to be a good edut. So how can you say there's machlokes over here? All right, everybody agrees. Simchus would agree that you need it. So why would Simchus over here say you don't need it? When it says Hanimili, when does Simchus hold that you don't need it? When do we say that, if it's unzomemable, it doesn't work? When does that say? It's only when there's a technicality problem, meaning because the witnesses are saying, yeah, we saw it happen, but we don't know which day. Because why? Now, why is that unzomemable? Because no one could come and say, how did you testify about January 1st if we were there January 1st and you weren't with us? Problem is, since they said we don't know what day it was or what hour it was, they can't be zomem because they could always say, I didn't say it was January 1st. So in that case, they say that's pasul edut. You need solid edut, time, location, that has to, and therefore you're able to be zomem. They like edut because that's not good edut. But over here, they're supporting him, right? They're just adding on to what the guy said to the admission, which doesn't make them weaker. It's still zomemable. And it's not the fact that they can't zomem him is not a problem because it's not a technicality. It's not a problem with the edut itself. Okay, a lot more said earlier. The Simcha said the zomem paid double. 1 second, why does it pay double if he admitted he stole? He has to pay the principal, but not kefil. He has to pay the Zomim have to pay the kefil, the second part, meaning the thief obviously has to pay the thief, right? Zomim were zomem on the guy stealing. The guy said those edim were the guy admitted to it, but those edim got zomemed, which means the guy has to pay the principal, and the edim have to pay the second part, right? Let's say you're paying 200% of this item, the guy has to pay the 100% back, and the edim have to pay the other 100%. They split it. Okay, we'll stop here.